having more success. So basically, the more authentic I was, the better all the relationships were. And I do have a book also, Stress Reduction for Lawyers, Legal Professionals, and Law Students. You might suggest to your sister.
I think that that would be good because I know that her job is very stressful and she
Yeah.
works very hard. And I think that would be good. I'll look into that. Okay, I would like to turn our discussion a little bit more towards the meat of practice. And what I'd really like to start with is the jhanas, which is the practice that first attracted me to your work.
Mhm.
So maybe you could spend just a couple moments and tell us what is jhana practice? Um, what are the states that are achieved? How does it fit into the larger process of awakening? Why would we want to spend this time? And it seems like you spent an extensive amount of time meditating to achieve these states. What's the benefit here?
Yeah. Well, the jhanas are another name for a level of concentration. Within all spirituality, there are meditations that are concentration meditations, and then there are other kinds of meditations. And the concentration meditations have a development, meaning we can get more concentrated. And so there's three levels of concentration meditation. The first is called momentary concentration, and that's where you're with whatever you're meditating with or about. Whatever it is, your connection to that in this moment is the momentary concentration. And then the second level, once we're with the meditative object fairly exclusively for 5 to 15 minutes, then we normally would see that as moving to the second level, which is called access concentration. And access concentration is a really big section. So you go from where you're having some stability on the meditative object. And in jhana practice, as I learned it, we did the breath in the area of the nostrils and the upper lip. We call the anapana region or spot. And so we're taking that as the object, and we're preferencing that object over everything else in our awareness. So over our thoughts, our memories, our bodily reactions, we're prioritizing being with the breath. And then, and I will say, all meditations have these first two levels, but concentration meditation can lead to a third level that's called absorption or jhana. And absorption is a very particular experience. It's a non-dual experience, so it returns us to the natural quality of the universe, which is no separation. So rather than the normal person would say, you and I are different, we're separate people, and we have no interaction. And while that's true in one way, I mean, we physically are in different places. If I poke a fork in my thigh, yours doesn't hurt. So we do have a separation, but the reality is we're part of a oneness. We're part of an undivided oneness all the time. And that's what the non-dual puts us in touch with. And in the jhana experiences, I learned it from my teacher, Pa Auk, there's no thought and there's no sense of self at all. So it's a very, very interesting and important experience. There's full awareness, but it's awareness of whatever the meditative object is. So in this case, it's the breath, and it develops to where there's light phenomenon and there's a variety of objective qualities of joy, bliss, one-pointedness, etc., that come in and are really in full display in jhana. So we're steeping in that quality of no self and no thought, but full awareness. So that's a big experience to have. You're completely outside your normal self, you're fully aware, and you're steeped in this really rich experience of these jhana factors of, as I mentioned, bliss and joy, one-pointedness, and then later equanimity and such. So it's a very important experience, I think, to have. And I will say, not everybody has access. So my instruction or suggestion now is if somebody tries 2 or 3 long jhana retreats and first jhana doesn't arise within those retreats, then I suggest they move on to something else, because it can be quite a frustrating experience to spend years doing long retreats, trying to get access, trying to have these states come forward. And like in my book, Buddha's Heart, all of the Brahma Viharas, all the heart practices can lead to absorption also, or jhana. And I think they're an easier vehicle for jhana than the breath is.